All right, happening right now on the U.S. Senate floor. A bill related to the Middle East is being considered for a full vote. This legislation, also known as the anti-BDS bill, seeks to criminalize those who boycott Israeli products and allow U.S. states to punish companies or even individuals supporting the boycott movement, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. However, there is already significant legal opposition to these bills. Now, the ACLU says these anti-BDS bills not only violate the First Amendment, but also sends a message to Americans that they will be penalized if they disagree with their government. So to discuss all of this, I'm being joined now by Miko Peled, Israeli human rights activist and author of Injustice, the story of the Holy Land Foundation 5. Miko, thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
So first, why does Israel seem so concerned by BDS, and why, in your view, is it important that Americans have the right to boycott, first of all, whoever they want, but in this case, Israel, and any country for that matter?
Well, Israel is concerned, first of all, because Israel remembers that apartheid in South Africa fell largely as a result of boycott, divestment, sanctions, and the kind of political isolation that the world imposed on South Africa. And they know, they've learned from that experience. So they're on the offensive. They're here in the United States, and they're in Europe, and they're everywhere fighting the possibility that one day all of these countries will start imposing sanctions and boycotting them and divest and so forth. And that's why they're scared, because they know it's effective and they know it works, and I think they see it growing. Americans have a First Amendment right. I mean, that's what this is all about. And to deny Americans the right to boycott, and particularly on an issue that is such an important issue, this is really the moral issue of the day, is absolutely criminal, and it's cowardly.
And, you know, in addition to these anti-BDS bills, since 2014, so the last few years, at least more than 100 similar measures have been introduced in local state legislators all across this country, and 5 executive orders have also been issued to punish anyone who advocates for Palestinian rights. How is it possible that a foreign state can have so much influence over American domestic policy and even local politics?
Well, like I said, they've learned, and they've been doing a lot of work in advance of the possibility.
I mean, what's Israel's stronghold on American politicians?
Well, America allows for lobbies, and so Israel takes full advantage. They have a very strong lobby, and all kinds of other kind of watchdog groups that operate throughout the United States. There's AIPAC, which is the main lobby. There's the Jewish Federation. There's the Anti-Defamation League, which really spends all of its time defaming others. And they're out there doing their work. They're doing this job. I mean, they're not much different than the pharmaceuticals or the weapons industry or anybody else who has an agenda.
So there's a lot of money behind it.
And there's a lot of money behind it, and they have, quite frankly, limitless funds. And they are out there because they know that they're on the wrong side of the issue, and they know they can take advantage of the weak, spineless American politicians who are selling their soul for this and to support Israel.
And, you know, people might wonder, though, why boycott? Why not just leave these matters to the UN or some outside council to determine what justice is? Why should people bother boycotting?
Well, because the United Nations and all these other international organizations don't have teeth. They don't have ways to enforce, and the United States has veto power. So, and boycott is something that anybody can do. It's something that in which anybody can participate. So it empowers people to say this is wrong, and we demand that our elected officials or unelected officials in countries where they're not elected act in a certain way, and that's what boycott is all about. And
right,
again,
it's your individual voice. Like, you can choose not to buy something at the mall.
Of course. So it's something that it empowers everybody to participate in the struggle, which, like I said, today is the moral struggle. It is the moral struggle of our time. This is the issue that we're all going to be judged upon by our children and grandchildren. Where did you stand on Palestine? And
Israel recently canceled a Knesset trip to Ireland in protest of a bill passed there to boycott goods from Israeli settlements. And Malaysia was stripped of hosting the Paralympics because they refused visas to Israeli athletes.
Yes.
Does this mean that foreign countries that oppose Israeli policies can also expect harsh retaliation?
Well, of course, I think it's quite telling that these are smaller countries that seem to show more courage than much larger countries who collaborate with Israel and support Israel and sell Israel weapons and provide Israel with funds and so forth. So I think what's important is for countries who are willing to take the step to realize that they are going to be penalized, because the other side, the Israeli lobby, the countries who support Israel, are going to be fighting them so as to make sure this doesn't continue. And I think we should all be inspired, and we should all other countries should follow the example of Malaysia and Ireland and others who stand with the Palestinian cause.
And how do you see all these bills playing out? I mean, is there really any way to silence the individual American voice to choose and spend their money and do as they see fit?
Look, this is an act of desperation. There's no question about that. They're taking advantage, like I said earlier, of spineless, gutless politicians who are willing to sell their soul instead of do the right thing. The Malaysian Minister of Sport said, you know, what's more important, hosting a sporting event or losing our moral compass? We stand with our moral compass. We stand with the people of Palestine. And again, it's interesting that a small country and a government of a small country is willing to do this and stick their neck out like this, and hopefully others will support them, whereas bigger, larger countries don't dare to do this.
Yeah, and obviously you really can't individualize people's choices, or else that's a whole different, you know, we're looking at the Gestapo all over again. So, all right, as always, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insight with us. Miko Peled.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.